Next question, all right? Knowing that you're LeBron James or you're Deion Sanders and you have your son, your daughter coming up in college with these huge freaking $1 million deals like that, all right, and they don't have to worry about nothing else. What is your guidance with that, man?
Oh, I would personally tell them we're gonna take their money, put it in trust, and here's your this is gonna be your retirement long term.
Yes.
Like you'll work, you'll do all the other stuff,
Yeah.
but since you have this for now, let's put all this away. We're not gonna buy a car, we're not gonna buy shoes, we're not gonna buy any of that stuff. We're gonna put, and maybe not all of it. Maybe here's $50K. You know what I'm saying? And here's a little bit of money.
You can live off that, man. People don't understand that off of trust. I'm like, okay, I'm doing more. I'm diving into more research, into trust funds and stuff like that. Now that I have my, Mateo, all right, and it's ridiculous that how, well, obviously the banks are not going to tell you, and then and then lawyers are not going to tell you,
the good ones will.
What lawyers mess with trust?
So, it's generally estate planning. Estate planning and probate lawyers. So
probate
lawyers that deal with that.
For sure, probate lawyers are not going to tell you because
they need to probate the will.
So okay, all right. So I'm gonna educate a little bit because there's a lot of stuff that I've been figuring out, lately like that. And so tell me where I'm wrong with a couple of stuff. Fact check me. All right. So all right. And then this is the thing I was going with my wife the other day why we need to open one up. All right. It doesn't matter if you're, you have $1,000 worth of freaking, assets to your name and you got $100,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? What I heard and recommended is the second that you open up a bank account, you should have opened up a trust fund as well. All right. And so the reason being, is because now, you're let's say you open up your first bank account, at, let's say, let's take it with these guys. All right. They're 18 years old. They finally open up their own real saving, personal bank account and saving account, because they have this huge deal. All right. Like that. Of course, they're 18. All right. How many assets do they have right now? Very little. All right.
Next to none.
What do you think by the end of that school year or by the end of this deal, how many assets are going to have now? All right. Freaking, I see someone like Shidori. I think he had a Lamborghini or something like that. I think he bought a Lamborghini,
bro,
or like that. I know for sure he has a fully diamond out fucking diamond out freaking watch. He wears it every show. I mean, every game like that, flossing like that. Freaking.
Wow, he probably.
Yeah, he's always talking about his prime time like that.
He probably had that before, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would think that they do like that. All right, so all right, but the thing is obviously, a trust fund, the biggest thing from a trust fund and then a will and then not having a will. Those are the three options that you have, when you're coming up. All right. If you don't have a will, what happens to your stuff when you die? You know what I mean? Maybe you have a car, you have a house, like that, and you have a couple assets. You have a nice watch or something like that. All right. And then you have 2 kids. What happens to that stuff? All right. You don't have a will. All right. That shit goes to the freaking where?
So
it goes to the state, doesn't it?
No. You keep it. Well, it depends.
Goes to probate though.
It depends. So if you don't have, man, this is the hard part. If you don't have a will, what they start doing, they start depending on. Let's see what has a note, because what happens is like jewelry that's considered personal property. So you don't necessarily need a will to pass out personal property. But if you have 2 kids.
Yeah, they're gonna fight for it though. They're gonna see who can claim it,
and they're gonna try to figure out. Who can
and
claim
that's
it.
just a big mess.
When you go to probate, the court determines who's gonna claim it.
Yeah,
and what happens most of the time is, let's say you have a $10,000 watch, you have 2 kids.
Yeah,
both of them can't have the watch. Let's say all you have is a $10,000 watch. They're gonna sell it and split it.
All right, and they're not gonna split 10,000 either. You know why? Because court fees, lawyer fees. You know what I mean? Like I heard a crazy freaking a percentage that just when it goes to probate and then all these people that have claims to the property and stuff like that, when there's not a will, everybody loses in the end, on the family side, and the only person that wins is just the courts and the lawyers. That's it.
Mainly the lawyer, because the court doesn't really get a whole lot either, but mainly the lawyer.
Mainly the lawyer, yeah. All right, so then let's talk about will. All right. The only thing a will really does is hey, I died, I'm not leaving it to my family. But then again, it still goes to probate, and then you still have the arguments of claiming things no, I wanted that freaking watch, like that. No, I wanted the car,
right,
like that.
But but the will, so the benefit of the will is the court kind of goes, well, if the will is valid, this is what they said
Yeah.
you want to do. So it takes less time to figure out who gets what.
Yeah.
And
You know what I mean?
that helps
But that
reduce
that
the
still
amount of money.
doesn't tell me if I'm wrong on this. That doesn't stop, let's say, freaking Jules, who's the friend, freaking going and be like, nah, I have a claim to that watch. Eric was a good buddy of mine. He said that out.
Nah, yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't really. Yeah, somebody
Yeah.
gets to come in and say, well, wait a minute, what about this?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it still doesn't protect the family on it. All right. As for a trust, everything is private. You know what I mean?
This
like
is
that.
true.
The courts are not involved. Like that. And freaking, and then me as a whole, freaking that I read up this trust. I can, it's my rules, my game, everything. Like that. I could put all the little stipulations on this. Freaking Mateo can, get the house until he actually graduates from college, like that, and actually
about
gets
the size
a
of
job. That. If not, hey, it's just gonna be in there and it's gonna roll over to what the next generation. Like that. You could put all, but the court system is all the way out of it, like that. You know what I wanted to find out
For the
too?
most part.
Yeah, for the most part. Because all it is that whoever the third party is
trustee,
the trustee, they'll be like, all right, your father died, here, we're getting together, and it's gonna, and now the new person, the beneficiary, is gonna be X, X and X, what I mean,
whoever it
like
is,
that,
That's about. I mean, that's super simplified. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
The real benefit of the trust is what people really don't think about. So a trust is like a corporation.
Yes.
Okay. A corporation is a living, breathing entity.
Yes.
Well, so is a trust. So if Earl dies and he has property that has to be distributed, Earl has to pay tax on the property.
Yeah.
If Earl dies and his property is in trust when he dies, there's no intestacy tax. So you don't have to pay a tax because you died.
Yeah.
So it just goes on. So now you go one step further because there's several different types of trust. You have a HEMS trust, which is health education management support trust. You have trusts that are revocable, irrevocable. All these things have different tax consequences. And they have not only tax consequences, but they have lawsuit consequences also. Because if it's a revocable trust, means it can be revoked. So you could take it back at any time. So if you could take it back at any time and somebody sues you, they could potentially get to the assets of the trust because you could take the stuff back whenever you want to.
Yeah.
If it's irrevocable and you can't take it back, like this is what's there, I can't change anything, then someone sues you, they can only get to your assets as they come to you out of the trust.
Yeah.
So Earl gets a trust.
You can always forever hide them
You keep your stuff in trust.
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
So if Earl gets sued for $1 million, Earl's got $3 billion in the trust. He gets sued for $1 million. He owes $1 million. Earl pays himself $1,000 a month. You know what the person that sues him can get after? The $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
and his house can be in the trust. His car can be in the trust.
Yeah, everything.
So he's riding around in a Bentley that's owned by the trust.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. That's another thing too. Where this is like, man, this is like some high level freaking super white people freaking, rich, thinking and stuff like that. Because, it made me think like someone like Donald Trump. Man, I think one of these he already filed for bankruptcy twice or something like that.
Probably.
You know what I mean? But obviously I'm pretty sure a lot of his stuff is in a trust. So, you don't lose any of your assets, when you file for bankruptcy. They don't got, they can't, what are they coming after? They don't have nothing because it's all in a trust. It's not even in your own name, you know what I mean? Or like that. They probably come after your underwear.
They have to, and that's what I said, if it's irrevocable, they would have to prove that your irrevocable trust is basically just you trying to hide money and not something else. And that's why you have a trustee, and you do things very specific. Like you tell yourself, I'm only going to pay myself $60,000 a month. Like that's it.
And so with that, that's why, like, okay, going back to your your son or your daughter being in college and they have all this money, like, man, that's why it's just so important, to educate them that young and they know and understand, how much power they really have at such a young age and not being stupid with that stuff, what I mean? Because,
well, and then, so think about, you have a good trustee. So you set up a trust. You and Chris will set up a trust for
who would you recommend, or like to be a trustee? Like, obviously you don't want no one in your own family and
Bro,
stuff like that.
I would always for my trust, it's my mom and my younger brother. Those are my first two trustees.
It's honestly just a number one person like you can really trust.
It's whoever you know has that interest in mind. So here's what, because some trustees are entitled to get paid.
Yeah.
Because they're working. So you want somebody who's got like mind but doesn't need money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if they need money, then they'll end up paying themselves and bleeding the trust.
Yeah.
But this is where sometimes the courts come in. The beneficiary can sue the trustee if they blow the money in the trust, because one of the things that the trustee is supposed to do is preserve the trust assets.
Yeah.
But not only preserve the trust assets, get this, grow the trust assets if they can.
Yeah.
So that's how come when Shadari takes his $6 million, puts it in trust, you get a good trustee. That trustee now invests in property. So now that trust owns 4 different properties. The beneficiary of the trust is always Shadari. So he now can live in 4 different houses.
Yeah.
But because he's got 4 different properties, the trustee has grown the assets of the trust. So now trust is worth more than he initially put in. The trustee's done his job. He's got more he's got more stuff that he can benefit from as the beneficiary. You know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he's also,
I've always been so interested
grow.
in trust. You know, this came back all the way back like 2017, 2018. You know, I had a real good client of mine that I trained. I trained her for almost 2 years. You know, what I mean, we like that. And her father, you know, I ended up linking up with him, and I would spend like an hour or two every Sunday chilling with him and just talking business. And like, man, he became a real good mentor to me like that. And then COVID happened, and I just had to respect his wishes. He didn't want to be around. He was an older guy,
right.
like that. And then like a year, I want to say the same year that Saul died. He ended up passing away later on that year.
You know, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah,
actually.
and man, it just sucks so bad, you know, because like I had someone like Saul that was a mentor for me as for like the fight, you know, and stuff like that. You know, he was gone, and then I had that guy, he ended up passing away, but it wasn't from COVID. I can't even remember what it was. I think it was like leukemia or something like that.
Right.
But he ended up passing away, and I was like, dang. You know, those back to back like that kind of hit me. But man, that guy he just gave me so much information for free. You know what I mean? And it was just like, for what? Just because he wanted to hang out with somebody and talk to somebody and stuff like that. And I was willing, you know what, to freaking soak it up. And,
right.
And like, I didn't have parents like that. You know, they're my, you know, freaking, or, you know, the people that were raised me, they're very financially literate, you know what I mean? And
right.
they didn't really understand, you know. I think it's, you know, for you, it's a little bit different. You know, your parents, you know, obviously, were well off, and I'm sure they've taught you a lot there. But man, you know, that's something that I really hungered for. You know what I mean? And when he started telling me like that, because I getting to know his daughter and her being my a client and stuff like that, I would see her and I'm like, man, she was a smart young lady, never had to work a day in her life. She lived off of trust, you know what I mean, like that. And then I was like, man, I really wanted to just know everything about, you know, to this day now that I have my son, like how, like the ins and outs of how this thing works, how, you know, I could put stuff into his name when I pass and I go, how it grows money, how, you know, through interest, you know, like that, like where this, you know, because that stuff, like, you know, affects generations. It doesn't affect just you and your next generation. I'm talking about like, and I want to say a trust usually lives for about between 3 to 5 generations. What is 3 to 5 generations?
Well, I mean, that's 80 years, so you're talking
about
maybe like 400 years. But
so,
the trust will live as long as there's assets.
Yeah.
And so what will happen is
assets and a living freaking.
You're talking about trustee.
Yeah.
So what
or beneficiary?
Well, so
what if
there has to be a living beneficiary?
Yeah.
Because what if
there's not a blood? What if the bloodline, you know, down the road, you know?
That's a good question. I'd have to look that up.
Because I when I was looking doing some research, I wanted to say that the longest trusts in America right now are with the Roth Wells, right? Is that the family that the Roth?
Not the.
Rothschilds.
Oh yeah,
Rothschilds.
probably that may be it.
Yeah, and I think their trust is up to like 7 or 8 generations. You know what I mean? That's like, you're talking about, average lifespan is 75, years, times that by 8, like, bro, like, that's like 300-400 years, it's been going on. These people didn't have to, like that.
Damn dynasty trust.
Yeah.
Bro.
What does it say?
I'm just kind of looking right now because they're generation skipping tax, perpetuities. But this is what it says: a dynasty trust is a type of irrevocable trust, which is it has to be irrevocable. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out long use.
Yeah, but while you're looking that up, yeah, I would go down the same route. I mean, if I, my son is in college, big deal like this, obviously freaking high hopes for him going to the professional league where he's gonna even get more money, like that, as a father, as a parent, yeah, I would guide them so much to really be financially literate, on understanding what money can do for you later as opposed to now. And then, just stashing away, let's keep our head, down in the books and, freaking, and on the video, on film, watching what we have to do, to further our professional, to get to the, to the professional league and make more money like that because, yeah, you want to buy the watches and the cars and the clothes and stuff like that now at 18 years old and stuff like that. But, how early you think those guys can really retire, man? You're talking about like early 30s.
Oh,
probably early, like late 20s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's 20, what I would think.
27, 28, 29. Have a good 5 to 8 year professional career, and then
I tell you what, I can't find it offhand, but I will tell you this: they say that a dynasty trust is designed to last for up to 1,000 years in some cases, bro.
That's
what?
Bro, 1,000.
1,000 years, bro?
Like
a millennium.
Like
a millennium.
Can you imagine that, bro, for your family? I'm like, bro, like, I mean, just to know that, 3 generations, can be taken, like, not even, like, that's, even for me, like, me looking at, thinking about that right now, even 3 generations is probably a lot for me to be asking right now.
Right.
I would be happy knowing that my son and then their kids are good, well off, what I mean?
Right.
That I would be so happy.
Right.
But 1,000 years, bro, that's fucking
right.
crazy, bro.
Well, see,
I would love to know how much, over 1,000 years, how much money, freaking has gone in and out of that trust.
Well, if you do it, I mean, and it's all. I can't even say it's all if you do it right, bro. But it's all if you do it right, because if you get the right trustee, and so generally what will happen is you'll set up a trust with a bank, right? Then you have trustee, and it'll keep your trust will name like various trustees, like you'll have mother, brother, aunt, cousin, sister, and those people are well and able to decline. But then they have like lawyers, and that's what they do. Like, they are trustees.
Yeah.
For a price.
Yeah.
But their job, and they can be sued if they don't make money in the trust. Like, they can't just sit back and get paid. Like, even if the trust says, you're gonna
as a trustee, do they have to be qualified some sort? Because I'm like, you're telling me right now, like, no, hey, they have to work and they have to further the trust to get more, like, to make it grow and stuff like that. I'm not gonna have, my Theo Juan
with the white shoes, right. It's always dancing.
Every Friday I see him drinking a whole case of Modelo's.
Bro, he can 100% be the trustee. He really
and he don't know nothing about freaking stocks and bonds and real estate and things.
Now that's
like
the reason why you pick who you want your trustee to be.
Yeah.
But and then sometimes it'll default to being one of these trust holding companies. Either the bank or somebody, because you really do want it to grow. Like, if you're gonna do it, but like, and then there's that. Now here's the big thing. The big thing that people don't think about is, let's say you're working. Let's say you have life insurance. If you have a trust,
you can put all that in
there. The trust is the beneficiary. So when you die, the money doesn't go to your wife. It doesn't go to the kid. So there's no reason for your wife to kill you.
Yes.
Right? You're not going to get like Eric and Kyle Menendez.
Bro, you listen all to me and my wife's conversation.
Bro, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, what was it? It was Lyle and Kyle Menendez, right?
Yeah, the brothers that killed the parents.
Brother killed the parents, right? But if the money goes to a trust, guess what? The money goes into a trust,
and they don't even get it,
and you don't get it, and if it's so like if you could put the language, if for whatever reason the grantor's of this trust should die under mysterious circumstances, and it is determined that the beneficiary is the cause of those mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, they don't get shit.
They get nothing.
Yeah.
And the beneficiary now becomes my dog.
Your game, your rules, everything, bro.
It's crazy, bro.
No,
that's the way you do. That's the way you establish generational.
Bro, like, all right, let's put your conspiracy little hat on and stuff like that. All right, because your iPhones and stuff be listening, bro.
Oh, 100%.
Right, like that. So talk about because I was talking about trust with my wife and stuff like that, and there's another podcast that I listen to, bro. They were talking about freaking trust, all right, like that. And so I don't know if you've heard this website or anything like that. It's fairly new, but they had a guy on there talking about trust, and it's a get a free trust. Like that, because typically they're talking about trust can be anywhere from $1,000, $25,000, depending on how you set it up and stuff like that, and all different, the packages that you get with it, like that. Bare minimum $1,000, you're talking about just paperwork. But if you have people that are, that are taking care of it, growing it and stuff like that,
that's true. Yeah.
All those other fees, to really, double and triple the trust, after the fact that, you're gone, that, you're talking about more 10,000. Well, this guy was on this podcast. He was talking about, I want to say it was getdynasty.com. Okay. And freaking they made it so simplistic that you can do everything to yourself, and take the lawyer out of the equation to set up your own trust for absolutely free. So
it's really not hard to do.
I need a double check it like that, because that really piqued my interest on doing that.
Bro,
because like
really
they said like even other like apps and like that. I think there's like a Rocket. What are those
Rocket
like
Mortgage and all those
those like lawyer app or like real quick things like that, even them you're paying like $100, but it's just paperwork and you still have to go to a lawyer to file it and stuff like that. No, like for free they'll do all that stuff for you.
There's the unique thing about a trust is a private document, so it's not filed.
I thought you still had to go through a lawyer for.
That's
just for probate.
That's just to make sure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed.
Yeah.
So what you do is you take the trust, the creation document.
Yeah.
And then you get your identification number for the trust. Then you open up a bank account in the trust name. And now your trust is created.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. And then you have your entity. It has this. Now, I mean, and it's the same thing. Like the trust, it has to pay taxes. It's its own entity over here. But there it is. And one of the reasons that people like to use them is because I don't have to let anybody. I don't have to file this paper. I don't have to file this document with anybody, because then people can see it and they can start seeing who your assets are and they can start figuring out who your beneficiaries are because they have the document. The beauty of it is it's a document. It's free flowing. Once it's created, what you want to do is you want to have it someplace secure. So a lot of people will have their trust creation documents where? Safe deposit box. Yeah. Or in a safe. But then, so now it's
under the mattress.
Right. Bro, this is so you just said, bro, this is so funny, bro. You just talked about how like my parents and their whatever they bro, so we're doing some renovation on the house. Yeah. Cross my heart, bro. My dad's from Mississippi. My grandfather died in a house with no indoor plumbing in like 2005.
Has stuff stashed away behind the walls.
Bro, my father, right now, we're doing renovations on the house, bro. So he tells me, he's like, oh, wait, go behind the wall and get this. What? Bro, what are you doing?
What is behind here?
Bro, this dude just had a stack of money behind it. Like, he had a stash of money. Now, and this dude sits all day long and looks at, like, even after his stroke, he watches stock trading stuff all day. Like, if you go over there right now, he'll tell you.
Hey, bro, but hard cash in the hand, all right, like that. You know, freaking.
Bro.
shit could get wiped today. You know what I mean?
Bro.
You know what I mean? Like that.
The guys coming in, they're doing the sheetrock.
Yeah.
They're doing sheetrock. Contractor comes and says, can we have anything that we find?
Of course.
Right. And it was like, now luckily the contractor is my boy.
Yeah.
But we're like, what? And he was like, no, can we have anything?
Yeah.
Bro, how come he found a 9mm
Oh.
in a box of bullets zipped in plastic inside the sheetrock?
Bro, you
What
might
are
wanna
you
run those
doing,
numbers,
bro?
bro.
Nah, I'm not going to run the numbers because I don't want to know shit. What are you doing?
I don't even got numbers on them things.
Bro, I was like, I don't know where it is right now. Like, I was like, what is going on? What is going on in your life that you got all this shit behind the walls, bro?
Oh my God, that's crazy.
But you're right. Like, after COVID, it kind of freaked me out a little bit, bro.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is cash. And you go places now, people are like, oh yeah, we don't accept cash. You're like, what do you mean you don't accept
Bro,
cash?
you know how annoying that is?
What do you mean you don't accept cash?
You know what I mean?
It's cash.
I'm like, yeah, it just.
Who doesn't take cash?
Bro, like, there you go, man. Better put your tin hat on, bro. All right, like, I've heard so many things, you know what I mean? Because obviously, freaking all these little fees and stuff like that. Every time you swipe your card, the bank collects all that stuff. And it's just attempts to, you know what, over time, all right, like that. Like, I pay you $10, all right, for your service or whatever, your goods, like that. My $10 goes to you, all right? Guess what? All right, you still have $10.
Right.
All right. But if I pay you $10 through card, service to goods, all right, then that means my $10 swipe fees to the, like 5%, freaking fees go to the bank,
processor, yep.
the processor. Then you get your, let's say, $8. You know what I mean, like that, and then you have to pay taxes. There you go, freaking goes to the bank and stuff like that. So by the time you end up with it, you probably have like $6.
So what do they do?
Like that.
They take the $10 thing and they make it $14 so that they can still get $10.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But you know what? But you still got $6. You know what I mean? Like that. It's just crazy to know those things, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.